You're watching South Asia Newsline, and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday. President Murmu hails India's economic growth as budget session kicks off. Traders in India hail India-EU deal, positive about exports in coming years. And Bangladesh's Gen Z voters demand jobs accountability ahead of polls. And now for all the details. As the budget session 2026-27 kicked off on Wednesday, India's President Droupadi Murmu addressed a joint session of the parliament outlining PM Modi-led government's vision for social justice, inclusive growth and a developed India. President Murmu recalled that the previous year was memorable for celebrating India's rapid progress and rich heritage. She said India has strengthened every sector in the last 10 years. She also hailed the India-EU trade deal. She further said the national security formed a central plank and the world witnessed the valor and prowess of the Indian Defence Forces during Operation Sindoor. The budget session will span 30 sittings over 65 days, concluding on 2nd of April. The economic survey will be tabled on Thursday, followed by the union budget on 1st of February.
अच्छा सामाजिक न्याय यानी देश के हर नागरिक को उसका पूरा हक मिले बिना किसी भेदभाव से मिले। मेरी सरकार सच्ची सामाजिक न्याय के लिए समर्पित है और इसी का नतीजा है कि पिछले एक दशक में 25 करोड़ देशवासी गरीबी को हराकर गरीबी से बाहर निकल के सरकार के तीसरे कार्यकाल में गरीबों को सशक्त करने के लिए अभियान और तेजी से आगे बढ़ा है।
The opposition MPs, however, raised a huge uproar in the Indian Parliament over the Viksit Bharat G-Ram-G bill that guarantees unskilled wage employment for 125 days annually, replacing the previous Manrega. Both houses were soon adjourned for the day due to the ruckus. And a wave of happiness and excitement has been seen among traders from key manufacturing sectors in India who are now expecting an increase in exports in the coming years following the finalization of the India-EU trade deal. Economists have called the deal a very important step in the right direction.
Indian traders from key manufacturing sectors have welcomed the trade deal with the European Union finalized on Tuesday, expressing optimism that the agreement would lead to a rise in exports in the coming years. India and the EU concluded the long-pending historic deal, with the top EU leaders describing it as the mother of all deals.
ये भारतवर्ष के लिए एक मील का पत्थर साबित होने वाला है। ये ट्रेड पैक्ट जो है इससे ना हमारे एक्सपोर्ट्स तो बढ़ेंगे ही 2025 तक मार्च 2025 तक जो हमारा एक्सपोर्ट 136 बिलियन डॉलर का था, अब सोचिए कितने गुना एक्सपोर्ट बढ़ जाएगा मशीनरी का, जेम्स का, लेदर, केमिकल जो पैक्ट हुए हैं।
The agreement aims to cut tariffs on most goods, boost two-way trade, and reduce dependence on the U.S. at a time of growing global tensions. The deal is expected to double EU exports to India by 2032 by eliminating or reducing tariffs on 96.6% of traded goods by value, resulting in savings of about 4 billion euros in duties for European companies.
EU के जो FTAs है बहुत बड़ा फ़ायदा पर्टिकुलर टेक्सटाइल उद्योग की बात करें तो कम से कम 5 से लेकर 10% का अगले 5-7 साल में एडवांटेज जो बिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स में फ़ायदा भारत भर में मिलेगा।
Meanwhile, German economist Rank Gropp called the India-EU trade deal a very important step in the right direction, especially amid challenges in other regions of the world.
I think it's an important step in the right direction. We need to replace the problems in trade that we have with the US. India is an important market. It's 1.4 billion inhabitants. It may be an interesting and important source for rare earth and other raw materials. So I think it is a very important step in the right direction, very welcome, particularly in context of the problems we are having in other regions of the world.
And in a tragic incident, the Deputy Chief Minister of India's Maharashtra state, Ajit Pawar, was killed in a plane crash on Wednesday, along with 4 others. Pawar, an influential political leader, was travelling from Mumbai to his home constituency, Baramati, to campaign for the upcoming local body elections. 2 members of his personal staff and 2 crew members were also on board, aviation authorities confirmed. But the exact cause of the crash was yet to be established. Tributes have poured in from across India's political spectrum, including by India's PM Modi. The Maharashtra government has announced 3 days of official mourning in his honor. Pawar hailed from one of Maharashtra's most prominent political families. His political career spanned several decades, during which he served multiple terms as Deputy Chief Minister. In 2023, he led a faction that split from the opposition NCP and extended support to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party, playing a key role in the formation of the state government. Moving on, a wave of protests erupted in Karachi this week after a Pakistani court handed a 17-year jail sentence to rights activist Imaan Mazari and her husband under cybercrime laws. The verdict has renewed concerns over free speech and shrinking civil liberties in Pakistan.
Scores of journalists, lawyers, and civil society activists protested in Karachi against Pakistan's controversial Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act after a court convicted human rights activist Imaan Mazari and her husband, lawyer Hadi Ali Chattha, over alleged anti-state social media posts made between 2021 and 2025. The court said the posts promoted anti-state narratives and accused the military of terrorism. The couple was on Saturday sentenced to a total of 17 years in prison on 3 counts, with all terms to run concurrently. Mazari, a vocal critic of the military, and Chattha have denied the charges, saying they are being targeted for speaking out against enforced disappearances, claims the military has denied.
खास तौर पर पीका एक्ट के खिलाफ एहतजाज है। ये लोगों के आईनी हुकूक की खिलाफ वर्जी है कि पाकिस्तान के आईनी लोगों को बोलने की, राय लिखने की और एक जगह जमा होकर असेंबली करने की आज़ादी दे रखी है। तो वो अपना आईनी इस हक इस्तेमाल करते हुए लोगों को अब पीका एक्ट के तहत जो है गिरफ्तार करेंगे और लोगों को सजाएं देंगे। तो कोई सापी क्या लिखेगा, कोई आम आदमी क्या लिखेगा, तो ये ज़रूरी है कि ये जो पेका एक्ट है पहले इसका खात्मा बहुत ज़रूरी है। और यहाँ इस एहतजाज के ज़रिए ये मुतालबा ज़रूरी है कि आपने ईमान मज़ारी और आदि को जो सजाएं दिए वो धोखेबाजी है, वो दोस्त धांधली है, वो बाकी लोगों को डराने की साजिश है।
आप देखिए, ईमान मज़ारी का मसला हो, हादी अली चट्टा का मसला हो, अली वज़ीर का मसला हो या महरंग बलोच का मसला हो, हर जगह हमें नज़र आता है, या सिंधी कौम परस्तों का मसला हो, सब जगह हमें ये नज़र आता है कि ये कानून की धज्जियाँ बिखेर रहे हैं और आइन को पामाल कर रहे हैं, लोगों को बेजा गिरफ़्तार कर रहे हैं। और जिन लोगों को ये गिरफ़्तार कर रहे हैं वो चाहते क्या हैं? वो आइन और कानून की बात करते हैं, वो सवाल करते हैं, लोगों के राइट्स की बात करते हैं। वो लोग क्यों इनसे ये रियासती इदारे खौफज़दा हैं? क्योंकि रियासती इदारों के पास हादी अली चट्टा, ईमान मज़ारी, अली वज़ीर, महरंग बलोच, इनके जवाब देने नहीं हैं, इनके पास कोई इनके सवालों के जवाब नहीं।
Reacting to the verdict, Shireen Mazari, the activist's mother and a former minister, called the conviction illegal, saying the defense was denied a fair hearing. Human rights groups have raised serious concerns over the trial, warning of a shrinking space for civil liberties, free speech and political dissent in the country.
And after leading last year's uprising that ended nearly 16 years of ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's rule in Bangladesh, Gen Z voters now say they want jobs, accountability and real democratic reform, but many remain skeptical. We have a report.
Bangladesh is heading into national elections next month, with millions of young voters casting ballots for the first time. Many of them were at the forefront of last year's youth-led uprising that forced the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to flee the country after months of deadly unrest. Gen Z voters are approaching the upcoming national election with a mix of hope, frustration, and skepticism.
আমরা এমন একটা সরকার চাই যার মধ্যে দেশপ্রেম থাকবে, দেশের মানুষের প্রতি কাজ করার মানসিকতা থাকবে, দেশটাকে চাঁদাবাজ মুক্ত রাখবো, দেশের আইন শৃঙ্খলা শক্ত রাখবো আর আইন সবার জন্য সমান রাখবো, দেশের বিচার ব্যবস্থা ভালো থাকে।
So if you want to gain vote from youth, you have to focus on job creation issues, and not it is not enough to say just I have a plan, I will create that and that much job. But how will create job? How to solve how you solve this unemployment issue? And specification, we want a specification and clarification from our political leader to how to solve this unemployment problem, especially for youth.
Now, as the country transitions from uncertainty to elections, young voters say the stakes are higher. But not all young voters share the same optimism. Some of them accuse political parties of courting young voters without addressing their real concerns.
একটা প্রবাদ খুব করে চলছে এখন যে মানে পুরাতন বোতলে নতুন মদ বা নতুন বোতলে পুরাতন মদ এরকম কিছু একটা প্রবাদ আসলে চলছে। সো আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে এই যে আগের যে ট্র্যাডিশনটা যে পলিটিক্যাল যে চাওয়া পাওয়া বা গণতান্ত্রিক অধিকার এগুলার জন্য আন্দোলনটা করলেও আমার কাছে মনে হয় এই পর্যায়ে এসে এটা কিছু পার্টিকুলার মানুষদের জন্য ভালো হয়েছে, বাট ওভারঅল যে সর্বসাধারণ যে মানুষজন বা জনগণ তাদের কাছে যে চাওয়া পাওয়াটা সেটা আসলে হচ্ছে না আর কি। আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে ওই আগের ধারাটাই চলছে এখনও, বরং আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে এই নতুন বাংলাদেশ আমরা যেটার কথা বলছি সেটার অবস্থা আরও বেশি খারাপ হয়ে গিয়েছে।
The political parties are specifically focusing on youth because they know a large chunk of people haven't voted for the first couple of years in elections. So all are trying to grab this particular vote bank. I personally think they are not concerned about what we think, rather they are concerned about whom we vote for. So that's what they are concerned about.
For many first-time voters, employment remains the top priority. Young voters are demanding accountability and rule of law. With millions of first-time voters, Gen Z could play a decisive role in shaping Bangladesh's politics.
And the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has kept interest rates unchanged at 7.75% as the country awaits a key review of its $2.9 billion International Monetary Fund's bailout program. The decision was unanimously forecast by economists surveyed by Reuters, who pointed out to stable inflation, healthy credit growth, and steady economic expansion. The central bank has kept rates unchanged since May as the country recovers from a devastating 2022 financial crisis triggered by a severe shortage of foreign currency. The rate decision came just hours before the IMF confirmed that a fact-finding mission had concluded talks in Colombo. Meeting IMF targets is seen as critical for restoring investor confidence, improving Sri Lanka's credit rating, and allowing the country to return to international financial markets by 2028. Sri Lanka's fragile recovery has faced fresh challenges in recent months. Cyclone Titwa killed around 650 people in late November, affected nearly 10% of the population, and caused an estimated $4.1 billion in damage to homes and infrastructure, according to the World Bank. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.